This, folks, is as ghetto as it gets, but we're getting there. Yeah, as long as everything's working the way it should. Good evening and welcome. There you go. There's the voiceover right there, folks. Good evening and welcome to DarkHour Paranormal. I am your host, Michael Roser, and tonight we have sort of a treat for you. Random Rick, how you doing? I see you in the chat there. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be joining Rick on his show very shortly here. We're going to do a simulcast together. The first time we've done this since I've actually got this up and running. Obviously, a lot of it's still in the works, but we're getting there. So, that being said, I will wait for some direction from Rick to let me know what I need to do in order to join with his show. In the meantime, I wanted to talk very briefly about Bigfoot. Oh my God, we're going to talk about Bigfoot. Yes, we're going to talk about Bigfoot very quickly because there's something that I've kind of had thoughts on as I've been researching this topic. And I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, I've been aware of Bigfoot for a long time. All right, I'll see you in a little bit, Rick. Yes, I've been aware of Bigfoot for a long time as the phenomenon that it is. With that being said, there's so many divided opinions on it. Now, in my course of watching the videos, listening to interviews, people would sign affidavits just, to validate the story that they're telling. One thing that I've noticed is that there is a male and a female counterpart to the Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you want to call it. There are these two distinct counterparts where, I've never heard of a female Mothman. I've never heard of a female Dover demon. There isn't any difference in sex with some of these other cryptids. Nobody's identified a male or female Loch Ness Monster. There's just the Loch Ness Monster, there's the Dover demon, there's the Mothman, and that's it. There are these specific single entities. Now, the reason I think this is sort of relevant to talk about is because in the sense that we don't have all this physical evidence that we can drum up, although we do have some things that are not explained, for example, footprints or even in some cases hair samples. It's different from other cryptids because people who have seen this creature have explicitly said, to the best of their ability, whether they thought it was a female or a male, and in some cases they actually see offspring. To me, that gives a lot more credence to the possibility of this phenomenon existing, and definitely is worth more investigation along those lines. I kind of want to just throw that out there, start the show with it, and see what everybody out there in the chat feels about it. That's just interesting to me. That's interesting to me that we can actually identify the sex of the creature without even knowing whether it exists or not. Now, going a little bit further into the phenomenon of Bigfoot, I'm going to bring up something that Stuart Swerdlow had mentioned, something that Al Balick had briefly touched upon, and I believe Preston Nichols did as well. And there's good reason for this too, and I'll go into that as well very quickly. But before I do that, the concept I wanted to bring up was the idea that maybe Bigfoot was something interdimensional as well as physical. It would explain why it can kind of pop in and out of reality in terms of our perspective. 1 minute it's there, 1 minute it's not. The way that it can be very clandestine in what it's doing. That's an interesting theory. Now, I think even David Icke had mentioned at one point that he believed Bigfoot was centered around the Appalachians, at least in where it originated. And his thought was that it was interdimensional, being who actually doesn't belong to this planet and was put here as an experiment. Stuart Swirl also sort of paralleled this with his opinion to see what would happen, see how the interaction would go. And, from that, we can derive a whole bunch of different questions and work on our own theories. Again, nothing is set in stone, nothing is concrete, and still today it's just a topic of discussion, which is absolutely amazing considering all of the physical evidence that we found. I put it in quotations because we can't really explain it, where it came from, these enormous footprints. And again, as I said, in some cases, hair samples, along with the fact that some people believe they know what this creature sounds like. They can actually mimic its call. That's amazing too. I mean, all these very intangible, ideas that have just sort of surfaced over time about this creature, which again seems so close but so far away. Great song by Candlebox, by the way. I don't know. I mean, I believe that Bigfoot is definitely a phenomenon that it needs to be followed and studied more closely. I do believe that this particular creature does exist, and I think some of the most important things to look at are the stories that came from the Native Americans within the area, or whatever native tribe, indigenous tribe that was related to that specific area, whether it's here in America or it's another place in the world. Each of them have their own legends talking about the race of individuals, hairy individuals that live in the forest. We got to listen to those who were there before us. The interesting thing to me is that you have, for example, a tribe of people who have seen this particular being live within its realm and, of course, continue to do what they do in their lives, accepting, excuse me, accepting that it is there and learning to live with that in the way that they need to. And here comes a group of folks, whether it be the white men or other settlers, they come in and they start to experience different things, within this phenomenon, and are full of questions, but they don't really listen to what came before. Why not? Why not? I mean, you got to listen to those who came before you. You listen to your grandparents, you listen to your elders, because they're experienced. Now, I believe that those tribes that lived in those areas were absolutely experienced in understanding the phenomenon that we know as Bigfoot. Now, another thing to keep in mind, too, is that a lot of people who have lived off the land that way were in contact and very entwined within their lives with different spirits that, were out in nature, I'll say, as a blanket statement, really. There's something different than the modern man has in terms of a relationship with the spirits of nature and even nature itself, if that could be a single entity. They worked with different things. Now, in theory, set up a Ouija board, we contact certain things, and whether they be positive or negative, we get a reaction sometimes. These tribes not only knew about these negative energies that were there or the positive energies that were there, they knew how to use them. And that's something indescribable to me in terms of experience, especially when you're coming into that as a foreigner, trying to understand, what's been there naturally. I just don't think that people really listened to the indigenous folks, and especially in this respect. Now, you're going to get some people here and there that do. And some of those people will also talk about the reasons we're not really recording what happens in national parks, at least throughout this nation. That in itself is something we can cover in a different show, but they also believe it to be related possibly to the Bigfoot phenomenon. Now, one of the interesting interviews that I listened to, I'm going to be honest with you, at this point, I've been into this so much that I couldn't tell you, and I should have taken the note to have the reference, but I'm going to kind of recap what the individual said. This particular individual was out hunting Thank God, I can't even tell you where. So, I mean, you can take what you want with this story, but this is still something curious to, think about at least. The individual was out hunting. He was a very seasoned naturalist. He was out in the woods hunting and trapping for many years for his family. He knows what different animals look like. He knows how to identify scat, how to identify tracks, and so forth. So he's out in the woods and he's got his gun and he's hunting something. And in the distance, throughout a field, he can see across, as he reports, there was an image on the tree line of a dark figure sort of hunched down. Now, as he said it, he could see the shoulder, he could see the head, but he couldn't see the rest of the body. He knew it was something and then thought it was a bear, actually. So as he sat there and watched without his gun drawn, but next to him, for a few moments, it seemed this creature was scavenging, and then it stood up. And as a lot of reports go, he believed that it was much taller than your average man, calling it in maybe at 8 feet, 9 feet. And in this, the creature turned around and started walking towards him where he was hidden in the brush. Now, he didn't necessarily believe that it had seen him, and the way that his story went, it didn't really seem that it was aware of his presence yet. So the way he talked about it is this creature walked over and he got a great picture of it. He could see everything. He described it as having long brown hair with very silver tips on the end, little hair around the face, and as it sort of merged into the face from the head, it was tapered and very fine, but you could tell from what he said that the skin itself was rough and leathery. And another reason that he believed that was the case is when this thing walked, it was from heel to toe. And as it walked, he could see the underside of its foot and described it the same way. Another interesting facet he picked up on was that the chest actually had breasts. So in his mind, he automatically assumed that it was female. And you don't hear that from every report that people see Bigfoot or the Yeti or Sasquatch or anything like that. They don't necessarily describe these breasts. A lot of them, if they get close enough, it's big, hulking, it's muscular. Chance it might be male. So this creature walks over and begins to gather in some brush, some yards in front of him. And the way he talked about it, he says, "Oh, all of a sudden it looked up, must have gotten a whiff of my scent, and then looked over where I was, very confused. And at that moment stood up and began to walk the opposite direction, constantly looking over its shoulder back. As it got to the tree line that it originally came from, it let out this strange whooping sound, in which he then followed down as it started to disappear amongst the timber. And he heard it one more time make this whooping sound, exact same way, and it was gone." This is incredible. And yet still eyewitness testimony that doesn't produce any physical evidence that you and I can touch. And stories are obviously very subjective in a lot of ways, and perhaps reflective of a certain individual's desire to entertain. But, we can only go with as much as we've got. And if these kind of stories continue to flow in, well, there's got to be something there to look at. All right, so I've talked almost about 15 minutes into the Bigfoot topic. Still waiting for Random Rick to come around. Very briefly, I'll just explain why I brought up Preston Nichols, Al Balick, and Stuart Swerdlow. And that is because in the Montauk Project, apparently Duncan Cameron, who was the chief psychic, actually created from his subconscious an entity, big, dark, black mass, ranging anywhere from 8 to 16 feet tall, depending on who you asked who was there, to completely decimate the project and destroy Camp Hero where they were. And from all accounts that I have found, it's still there, which would make sense because they never put it back. I mean, would you? Oh, we see me. Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Thanks for joining the show. It does look like there's only one of you in here, which is fine. We're going with that. Oh, nope, I've got 2 people. Hello, welcome. I pretty much just discussed Bigfoot for about 15 minutes, very briefly touching upon why the Montauk Project end was significant in respect to Bigfoot. But no, I don't think that they are the same entity. It still does give some stock to the idea that there's a possibility that Bigfoot is interdimensional. Now, if you want to go along the lines in which it was created at Montauk, obviously that was from somebody's subconscious. I don't think that there are droves of Bigfoot out there, being created by somebody behind the scenes. But who knows? I haven't met everybody behind the scenes. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But it's certainly something to think about as we move forward, because eventually we are going to find out what this phenomenon of Bigfoot is. In my opinion, we're going to find that. I mean, the old adage is look and you shall find, or seek and you shall find. Sorry, I messed that one up. But at any rate, we're going to find it. You have to tell me a little bit about how we can use Facebook there, because I don't think I have it on the computer. You know what? I might be able to do something here. If I call you in, Rick, are you going to be able to pick up? Or are you doing your stream at the moment as well? Because I can call you in and I can make that work. But, you got to let me know if that's going to work for you. Just give me the green light and I'll hit you in. And we'll go from there. So as you can see, I'm down on the coast of London, for all intents and purposes, overlooking Long Island Sound. And yeah, Montauk is right over there. I've been coming here since 1983, the actual year that it ended, and had no idea until maybe the mid-90s that something like this had happened. All right, anyway, we're going to give Rick a call and see if we can get some insight on what he's thinking. And here we go, folks. Random Rick, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing tonight?
All right, I got the feedback there on that side, though.
Oh, you might want to go ahead and turn down your speakers.
You're going to have a headset on.
I don't need one.
I'm hearing my feedback, so I can't talk. Hey, we're going to mute that on your phone.
No, I don't need it at all because it's not that bright in here.
Hey,
I actually had these on my head from earlier. But, are we able to merge the streams, or are you having some issues with it, or what do you got going on?
No, everything's fine. I just wanted you to call me on my phone, but it's not on my phone for some reason.
Okay. We lost them. We're gonna try that one more time. Well, we'll see what happens here, folks. Can't promise much. I don't know why we lost you.
All right, hold on. There we go. How's that?
That's fine.
No, I can't because I get the feedback from your speakers. Not the feedback, but it's repeating. It's repeating what I'm saying. You need headset for that stuff. We tried, folks. It's
Yeah, you know what? That's interesting because there's no sound coming out of any speaker. It's just me talking into the phone. That's the only microphone that's I mean, I have a microphone picking me up on the show, but I don't have any sound associated with that.
And how are you hearing me?
You're on my phone. You're not on the computer. You're not hardwired into. I don't know. That's very strange, dude. We'll have to kind of look into that, at another time. But there shouldn't be the way that I have things set up here.
What's happening with Spoon?
Yeah, F Spoon, really. That's about as much as I can say about that. I mean, God, that thing was riddled with problems. That whole platform. Is it just you and I here, or is there someone else?
I'm on my phone talking to you. No, there's no one else here.
Okay.
Hey, am I on speakerphone? That's why.
Well, yeah, but I've never had a problem with that before.
I'm on speakerphone.
Maybe because I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to hear what you're hearing too, and that's
because I'm hearing that. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just hearing what I'm saying repeated. That's all.
I mean, if you can deal with it, as best you can, we can still have a conversation. If it gets too annoying, I understand that too. But while I've got you here,
way too annoying. Yeah.
Well, I've got you here because I have a feeling this is going to be short as a result of technical difficulties. Excuse me. I wanted to ask your opinion about Bigfoot. One of the things before you answer that I brought up in the beginning of the show is that out of all the cryptids that people observe and report on, Bigfoot has literally been defined as having a sex or offspring. Have you ever seen a little baby Loch Ness monster, or even a female Loch Ness monster, or a female Mothman, or Dover demon that's obviously female based on observation? I think there's more credence into the Bigfoot phenomenon as a result of people being able to identify even the sex of the creature, let alone what it sounds like, what it looks like, and so forth. What do you think about all of this? What do you think?
I don't answer, but with the feedback, it's going to be too annoying. You can't even hear. Like, after I speak, I have to take my headphones off. We'll call you back on another setup here.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, let's try it.
Sorry.
All right. So he's going to give us a call back, hopefully, on another setup, and I'm going to give that another 15 minutes or so to see if that comes through. Otherwise, I'm going to have to change the course of the show, which is fine, but not what I had planned. Okay, so I mean, usually I have music set up. I'll have videos going to kind of bolster whatever topic I'm working on. Folks, this is the very first Dark Hour Paranormal show on YouTube. I usually use Spoon, which is a fine app, other than the fact that it's riddled with certain bugs and glitches that you can't really get around, especially when it comes to calling in people. Now, what you heard me do tonight is I literally just took my phone, had a ring on him, put it up to the speaker. Hopefully you guys could hear him a little bit. I'm sorry he was having an issue on his end that he couldn't really even respond to, what we were talking about, but he is going to try something. In the meantime, I think what I'm going to do is take a quick break, and hopefully when we come back in a couple moments, Rick will be ready to try a different way of calling in, and we'll see if we can get this show on the road tonight. All right, folks, hang tight. And we will be back in the meantime. Well, let's give us a try. Hold on. Mr. Rick Cianci, are you there?
I'm here.
Does that sound better to you?
It's better.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. All right, perfect. All right.
Play though on the video. Hold on, let me show you. I'm gonna play you up on my. If you want to tune me in on your phone or something,
yeah,
you'll see what you look like. But I'm getting a few seconds delay.
That's not too bad. I mean, on your show, I think it was like 7 or 8 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. Did you just like throw your hands up when you said that?
I might have.
Yeah. All right. So that's just a few seconds delay, but this is no. So you're on. They can hear both of us.
Okay, I see it.
Video as well.
I see it. And there is a delay, but that's okay. It's not important as long as we're focused on where we are. I mean, I'm going to turn this down a little bit here.
Let me get down a little so it'll go a little better for the video part. There we go.
All right.
There we go.
Looks good to me.
All right. I got green bars. We're streaming all right. I got the thing here is done. That thing is done. There we go. All right.
Perfect.
And then underneath, I have a little, you'll see a video thing pop up. But that's just you. Oh, look, we got two of you. I've got two of you. Yeah. Hey. All right. Well, we want to welcome and thank you for your. This is actually one of your first big streams since you've started, and sharing it with us here tonight. So this is fun. Neither of us have done this before, so who knows what'll happen.
This is just the beginning of something good here. Believe me, you and I both know. And we'll be moving forward as soon as I get through some of the technical things.
Yeah, that's all the fun part of it. Did you know I have a new character on the show? I didn't introduce her yet because I had technical problems, but did you want to meet her?
New character?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's my new announcer, like the person who announces me at the show.
Is she dating Mr. Q-Tips?
Oh, your kid might actually like a new character, right? It's Barbie Head.
Oh, Jesus.
Hi, I'm Barbie Head. I'm going to be announcing all the Random Rick shows from now on, so stay tuned. All right, say thank you. Oh, sorry.
My name is Jeff Thompson, folks. Thank you for joining.
Are you serious now? All of a sudden, yeah. Kid gets one video up, and now he's all serious YouTuber. Get out of here. All right, well, that was the end of our first and last simulcast, folks. Everybody have a great night. I'll be on the air, but not with him. All right, let's.
All right, so out of curiosity, now that I have you actually, now that I actually have you here, what are your thoughts on Bigfoot? What do you think?
I don't know. I've been out there in the woods, and you've been out there, and you've seen it, and there's, you know what I mean? The woods are big enough where something could live like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe there's enough stories of people like seeing stuff like that. So
enough circumstantial evidence, experiential evidence. I believe it's the same thing as UFOs. I mean, people come back with chips embedded in their skin that they have to get surgically removed. They come back with the stories of how those chips got there. Some of them. Come on. Like, what do you have to do? I mean, you have to have it rubbed into your face, break your nose to make you know that it's real, or can you come up with your own, opinions and then shape your perspective of life? Somebody else have to do that for you? I mean, good Lord.
Oh, you never know. There's so many different types of it that, you know what I mean? It's like white albinos, brown ones, black ones, red ones.
They're all over the place. They're all over the
place. Every continent, they have their own version of it. Come on.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, that's just, it stands out. And, I sort of seek other people's thoughts, people who've played around with certain things. And that's why, again, I mentioned earlier, Preston Nichols and Al Bielek, because if anybody's going to have perspective on something like that, I think it would be, or would have been those guys, given what they were involved in. But, who knows? There wasn't a lot of light shed on that. But, the question did come up occasionally.
Oh, yeah. No. I don't know if I'm even getting any volume on this thing.
I mean, I can hear you fine.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah.
My levels, though, when I talk, you know what? It's this microphone.
Well, you ordered that new one's coming, right?
The new one's coming soon. For now, you're going to deal with this.
Well, I think that's more aimed towards your viewers because I can hear you just fine.
All right. I just want, the level. What's weird is on my, that's the little readout, it moves green, yellow, and red when you're speaking, the little meter.
Yep.
And it has two lines usually, but right now, it only has one. And the whole thing reset during the show and the stream. I have 4 live streams going right now. So I probably have, people watching each one wondering where I am. Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. So tonight's the last night of OBS. tomorrow I'll be learning StreamYard all day. I have to wake up early now and like a job, you know what I mean? Relearn something now, yeah. So, but with that, you can do green screen with that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I looked into that today, actually. I read about it.
That'll be behind me.
Perfect, dude.
And every show will be an adventure into, I don't know.
Whatever you put on the green screen, I guess.
You know what I can put on the green screen is with my second camera. I can have it on the Wheel of Mystery, and then the green screen, the whole room behind me will be the Wheel of Mystery on the green screen, like a huge Wheel of Mystery. So when I spin it, it'll be like in the Wheel of Fortune.
That's awesome.
Like that big. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And just keeps getting better and better, this Wheel of Mystery.
Oh yeah, we've only used it once. Imagine the magic that awaits the masses, you know, with the years to come.
Oh, I know, I have been. I have been sitting here at night listening to your show saying, where's the Wheel of Mystery?
What's he bringing out that wheel?
What the heck happened the other night, out of curiosity? Did you drop the broadcast? Because I was listening.
No, it crashed.
It crashed. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. Something like that had happened because I went back looking for you. I was like, what the hell? Where is he? I knew it wasn't over, so I don't know.
Well, I was ready to stop talking about the aerial school landing, UFO landing, and it crashed. So I think the government was listening in or something. Shut it down.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, no, yeah. Nobody's listening. They can't even get them to listen in.
If anybody's listening from the government right now would like to lend your opinion, please, the chat is open. We're here.
Yeah.
Ask questions. Ask away, please. We've got answers that we'll come up with on the spot.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the aerial school UFO landing? Is it aerial? I think it's aerial.
No, actually, I don't.
All right. This one is awesome. This is like a whole bunch of school children, okay? I don't have all the details right in front of me, but I was going to do this part. I had it on my little thing. I can't play videos anymore. That's another story. But this whole group of school children was out at recess one day. This UFO lands in the corner of the field. I'm just doing this from what I remember, so don't go by me. But, they're all frozen. I guess it lasted like 15 minutes or something. They came in and questioned some guy from the United States. It's in Zimbabwe, and some guy from the United States came in and questioned all the children. A lot of them have the same story, that it really happened, but some don't remember the ship, some don't remember the sea.
Do you remember where this happened?
It was in Zimbabwe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's all right. I had it up here yesterday, but I got rid of that link because I can't play the video. But yeah, it's a real popular case. And the aliens supposedly were showing the children like visions of the future, like a destroyed Earth and all this stuff, like no trees.
Nope.
Everything's ruined. Yeah, so.
Now, I wonder why. Well, let's see. I mean, I wonder why they chose the children to see this. But to me, that sounds like, I'm going to go out on a limb here. It sounds like, if something was to come down and to show a generation that's coming, the devastation of the earth and stuff, they might have been showing them the timeline as if we kept going on that, hoping that maybe imparting that on them at a young age would maybe make an influence or an impact.
Right. Yeah.
Why is this an isolated incident, though? I would wonder. I mean, maybe it's not. There's
a couple of videos out there now with a couple of the girls, older now, as they are older. So this happened in 1994.
Okay.
So not that long, you know what I mean? And now they're older and they're out speaking at conferences and whatnot. It's a couple of videos. I can't play anything of it, so I'm all upset.
Well, I understand that. Me neither, but you have more reason to be upset because you could actually play something.
Yeah, you can't play it, so I'm bummed. But it's a good story. If anybody is interested in learning, like, a non-chopped up version, which I just hacked the hell out of it, Please go research it. It's really good. There's a couple of videos on YouTube that give like 10 or 20-minute videos that give a whole description of it.
Hey, listen, don't feel bad. I hacked up the origin of a Bigfoot story earlier, so don't worry about it. I don't remember who said it. I don't remember where it came from, the time period, or anything. I just remember he signed an affidavit. I think his name was William. Does that do anything for anybody?
It's a night of crashing.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, people are on the internet now. Next week, this time, people are back to work. There'll be, you'll have plenty of bandwidth. Have these interruptions.
Hi, Blue Eyed. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey,
I'm just loosely talking about alien phenomenon, and we started with Bigfoot. Talking about the fact that it can be identified by sex, whereas no other cryptid really can be, at least in what I've researched and heard, and how these phenomenon could possibly exist in an experiential sense, and that anecdotal evidence is perhaps in volume enough to say that something like this exists within someone's perspective. So that's where we are right now. Thank you for joining us, though. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is the first Dark Hour cast that I've done on YouTube, switching over from Spoon, as I mentioned earlier. And this is different because you guys can see me. It's a different level of radio, which I've done for some time, and nobody could ever see me because we're listening on the radio. But now you can see me, and I have a hat and long hair and a beard. Enjoy. Sometimes something to say as well.
Touch me.
Hey, listen, Blue Eyed, if you're still here and you're listening in, if you have any paranormal experiences or any brushes with ghosts, cryptids, odd dreams, whatever you'd like to share with us, we're kind of open topic with this tonight as the experiment that it is for me, considering having to get all of the technical things up and running where, have videos and audio interviews and stuff like that and guests coming on the show. That is coming in the next month or two, I hope, even all things go well, maybe less. Oh, God, please share. We'd love to hear. If you have many, I'd love to hear something. You can pick anything I like.
You got a chat room because I have no one in mind. Yeah, hey,
That's right. Me and Blue Eyed go way back. I'm
whole
just
chat room over there on this first night. Thank you. All right.
Now, listen,
I'm about to go in. Bye.
Now, listen, Blue Eyed, I do understand. I have numerous experiences myself, and this is one of the reasons that I'm doing a show like this. Not the only reason, considering that all the information and experiences that have been shared that we cover and will be covering from this point on. But I do have my experiences as well. Just to kind of let you know very quickly, Rick, my guest tonight, and I did have a ghost hunting investigation team. Was it 11 years ago now, 12 years ago? I think we began that. Long story short, we went on plenty of investigations. I think it was about 12 years. Long story short, we did go on investigations and we had, a great time for what it was. There were two separate investigations that I caught something very negative following me for at least 3 months each after the investigation. And the television show that we did have lined up, we weren't able to continue because of me. Sorry. But when you have stuff following you home and you have to kind of extradite that yourself, sort of puts you off from that sort of exploration and teaches you a few things.
10 years.
Plug your channel.
I can't even go on an investigation if I wanted to because I bust out.
For years, he was on me to do more investigations. But I'll be honest with you, in all fairness, you didn't have the experience that I had. You didn't have the tumultuous experience that I had. Neither did the other guy we had in our group, which was only 3. Keep it small. And, that's what it was, unfortunately. On your live stream, you caught a shadow man. Really?
Oh, wow.
I would love to hear about that again. Please plug your channel. Put it up here because, this is something that can be reviewed at a later point, and I would like people who have stuff like that going on to absolutely network with me and get on. And I'll put everybody I know onto you. You want to do the same for me? Cool. Doesn't have to be that way, but let's support each other in the paranormal community. That's incredible. I'd love to hear more about the shadow man that you caught. I mean, my experiences with shadow men usually were naturally visceral to me. I mean, I didn't catch anything on camera. I would see something out of the peripherals of my eyes, very starkly and very clearly at times. But I never caught anything on camera. Awesome. Thank you, Blue Eye. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I dived into my videos and deleted the ones that are not live right now. So you'll see the only one that's live. But I'm going to go and check your Chatterball right now.
Okay.
On my phone so I can join and have someone to talk to because mine's empty. This is hilarious. This is great though. We're finally getting you on video.
You know, it's been a long time coming, and I do apologize for everybody who has been waiting.
20 episodes, yeah. 20 episodes, and we're trying to get you on video.
Blue-Eyed says,
Mr. Robinson.
Blue-Eyed says, you see it, and it's now got TV interested. We would love to have you on as our guest. I would love to be there, my friend. You just name the topic, I'll show up. And, you know, vice versa. I'd love to have you on here, too, if you've got these you know, paranormal experiences or anything of such. This is what we do. We build. And I would love that. So you let me know what your schedule is looking like. I mean, you know, with all this going on, and we can definitely make this happen. I'm usually going on around 8 o'clock. You know, if it's not my show, it's Rick doing a show, and you know, we also support Goof On, and that's what we do here. So it's all paranormal. Should be, right? That's what we're doing. If you can't explain it, and it's something esoteric, it's got to be paranormal. I like this guy or girl. I can't really see. I think it's a guy. I'm sorry. I can't see your thumbnail, but I'm just making the assumption here. Either way, I like you. Cheers. So listen, let's kind of get into something here, if you would. I mean, I want to get a dialogue going back and forth between you and I on a topic. Would you like to kind of select something, or you want me to pull something out of the hat? What would you want to do?
How about we let the guest here, the listener?
All right, I do apologize. You are a woman, and I'm sure you're fine. Don't worry about it. Cheers. Sorry, can't see. Would you like to throw a topic out there tonight, Blue-Eyed, and maybe we'll get into it a little bit? We're pretty diverse over here. We've been through a lot of research, so we can cover quite a few things. Yeah, sorry. But she's still here, and we have somebody else who's joined us. Welcome. I don't know who you are. Ooh, Jilly England. Right. Hey, how's it going, Jilly? Nice to see you with us. We're doing an open topic sort of forum tonight, this being the first Dark Hour Paranormal stream. I have Rick. I think I was supposed to be his guest tonight, but it looks like it's becoming my guest.
Oh, yeah. I just changed my channel to Random Rick Paranormal, so if anyone wants to check me.
Yes, please. certainly check out Random Rick's channel. I'm on there very often as a guest, and at times, if he's willing, a co-host, depending on the mood he's in. Either way, it's a fantastic show. We have a lot of fun over there. This is a little bit more of a serious format, but we're going to get there as time goes on.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, nice to see you.
We'll take out the Barbie head next time. I didn't know it was serious.
No, listen. I mean, I want you to put Yoda in the screen there, and you know, have a few questions.
Oh, I have Yoda. Yeah.
When we get to that point. No, but I have the demonic monk in my home. Can you explain a little bit more about that? Who is the demonic monk? And how do you know he's a monk? Thank you, Jilly. I very much appreciate it. Where are you guys from, if I might ask? It says Jilly England Paranormal. Are you from across the big pond, or are you here with us in the United States? Because you know what? That's interesting. If you get other people from, you know, different areas in the world who have these different experiences, it's totally, it's different from what we experience here, even in the United States. You know, those places are older than a country like us, who had, you know, 250, 300 years at best, you know, to kind of, you know, do what we do. But again, all of this is built on Native American lore and the ignoring of these things, you know. You're both in England. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. I do appreciate that. That's so cool. I don't know how to get you up on panel, but if you know how to do that, I'd be more than happy to have you on. Again, this is my first broadcast on YouTube, and I'm still working out the kinks. So appreciate your patience.
Once you get on Streamlabs, I can show you quickly how to do that.
Right, yeah, we'll probably work on that
no
tomorrow.
Problem. Yeah, no problem. We'll get you up there, Jilly. Make sure to subscribe to DarkHour Paranormal because he's got a lot of good stuff coming up, and he wants you to be a part of it. And the other blue-eyed, we need you in there. Come on, hit that subscribe and like button, folks. Not just a voice on the radio anymore.
I do have StreamYard, actually, and I'm working on integrating that with YouTube. If I haven't done it already, again, I'm old school. I'm an audio engineer. I have used visual stuff. I've done video editing, stuff like that. But I'm talking, 10, 15 years ago, I was very savvy with the technology and Firewire, stuff like that. Today, you guys are doing something totally different. You literally look at a clip and it's edited and you post it on YouTube and it's done. I do appreciate you, Jilly and Blue Eyed. You guys are awesome already coming in here and giving me advice and support. Thank you.
We need more on, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I'll be there with whatever they present too. I'll be there plugging and supporting whatever they do. We're gonna have segments on the show eventually, sooner than later, where I'm talking about the people we network with, and I'm plugging those shows as a Fox commercial break. I think that's really kind of cool to do. I think the listeners, will enjoy, being able to hear something local or, maybe somebody that they know of, and then being able to tune in. So we won't be selling eggs and pocket lint anymore. I'm sorry for those who are looking forward to that. Oh, Randy Mix in the chat. How you doing? It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for joining in the visual sense, at least.
Yeah, that's me in the chat room, folks. I just said hello.
Yeah, I'll definitely get into StreamYard tomorrow and take on your comments there and work with them in action. And I can't wait to see that Shadow Man video. Can't wait to see it and then discuss it and go down that path, man. The theories on these are awesome. And I would even bring it back to Carlos Castaneda. Oh, God. Don't say that name, right? Oh, God, Carlos Castaneda. Well, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. The guy was an absolute fraud and a sham, but he got certain things from somewhere. Nobody knows where, but he had certain ideas that still hold up today, completely devoid of his name, let's say. And one of those, I believe, are the images that were known as shadow men, or these side shadows that are in the corners of our eyes and stuff like that. I think they're there, and Native Americans, again, know about that. What's the question? What's my name? My name? I can tell you my name. I don't know what my name. Dude, listen, if you're both gifted, yeah, I'm gonna love you. I'm right there with you. I haven't divulged most of it on the channel yet. On the Spoon app, I did talk a little bit about my intuition and ability to do that stuff. And you know what? I'd love to talk to you guys, even privately, about some of the stuff that I've gone through. I mean, we're talking about past life regressions that have come to me. We're talking about when somebody passes away that I know, family members or friends, they come to me first and they'll literally stand in front of me until I acknowledge them. It could have been a matter of hours. I'm finding out on the phone at that moment that they had passed and they're right there. I can see them. And it's not even that I see the person itself. I see the energy. I can see the colors and the feelings and the emotions that are entailed with that. It really opens up that mind's eye and you can see a lot of things. But I'd love to get into this with you guys, and I'm very thankful that you tuned in tonight, because again, not like I have any followers except for my good friend Rick here as of yet, because this is the first stream. But man, you guys have got my attention, both of you, and I'm really excited that we could do something like that. Yeah, you let me know. My name is Michael Roser. I'm your host for Dark Hour Paranormal, as you can tell. Yes, I'll hit the bell. I'll be on your channel. I'll do the same thing for you. Yes. No, that's great. That's great. You guys go live all the time. Rick, can you still see the chat? Are you still in there?
I'm in the chat.
Okay, I'm asking you that because I don't want to, I'm going to be answering as they're talking, and I'm not going to just read everything if they're saying going to be reactionary about it.
Oh, right, yeah.
So make sure you're following.
Yeah, I read everything that's coming up. Sitting over here reading nothing.
Nice to meet you, Jilly. And that, I'm sorry, how do you pronounce it? Is it Beaches? Becky's? No, you can't see the other guy, not on my channel right now. You will eventually. I'll be honest with you. The ironic thing here is that if you go to his show right now,
you can
see us both.
We're simulcasting, and you can go over to my channel and watch both of us. I have him on the video.
So I mean,
yeah,
that's the
thing. All grow as a community. You can see me and him on video right now live. Random Rick, hit that button. Hit that
button. Hit that like subscribe. Hit the bell.
You can bounce back and forth.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, that's fine. You know what? We'll schedule it so that we can support each other's show. We're not overlapping. Because God knows if we do it over GoofOn, we lose about 50 people. Right off the bat. So, yeah, we're partners.
Oh, yeah.
We're partners. We've been working together for, I say, a good solid 13, 14 years on this particular kind of stuff. We're friends before that, but we've definitely stayed together and done our own things with it. But at the same time, we are definitely still connected. We're one here. So that's awesome. How long have you guys been together doing this stuff? Out of curiosity, if I may ask you here. Yeah. Because she's saying that she's been with Becky. I'm gonna call you Becky because I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like she's been with Becky, as a partner, the way that you and I have.
We're partners in the paranormal thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously that's what I was talking about, dude. What kind of channel thing is this right now? That's later tonight, all right, when the kids go to bed. I'm just saying. Gotta have a little fun here while you're doing this stuff too. Can't be all serious.
I had 2 watching, now I only have 1. That's okay,
I think they came over here.
They did. You have 15 people watching right now. First show. He's got more than I had since I started. 20 shows now.
Listen, they all came to hear you, all right? They heard the guest was here, and they wanted to hear you. That's cool. You've been doing this paranormal stuff all your life. You're now 54 years old. Myself, I'm 38. I'll let Rick tell you how old he is if he wants to, but yeah, I've been doing the same thing. Excuse me. I think I became aware of this kind of stuff when I was maybe 11 or 12, and of course didn't really have much guidance at first in how to pursue it, but yeah, I was there. I mean, I was aware of it prior to that, but I didn't have a name for it. As young as you are, you wouldn't really. Most people don't. 5 and 3, and the fact that you can remember that is paramount, really.
Michael, excuse me.
Oh, I'm listening.
You can have these folks, if they have Facebook, they can call in the same way that I am and be on your show, just like I am. I can get off and have it. So if they want it. I know they mentioned calling in earlier. I don't know if that's something you want to do, but that's just an option, So
no, it's definitely something I want to do. Figure out how to do that real quick. I'm sure that's something easy enough. Maybe for the next show, I'll have people do it. I mean, if it's to do that.
Just sign up on make a Facebook group real quick, whatever, tomorrow. Have people join it. If they want to call in, they join that real quick, and then they call through the messenger. Oh, they don't have that on the groups anymore. You have to do that through your messenger itself. They just add you as a friend, and then they can call you just like I do. So you can do that. Yeah, and there you go.
All right. No, that's something I'm going to look into tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's cool. You have a 20-person outfit, it looks like you're saying, and you saw a medieval monk. Yeah, well, it's definitely something you never forget. Excuse me, your first encounter with something like this.
Oh, I thought you meant the paranormal. I thought you meant like a investigation team, 20 people. What is that? Oh, it's a Facebook group. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna look you up as soon as we're done with the show tonight. I'm gonna add you right on. Keep in contact. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, something you don't forget. Your first experience with, ghosts or something like that. I mean, my first direct experience with a spirit was when I was, I think, 9 years old, and my aunt invited me over to sleep at her house, and she had a young daughter who was, I think, 6 at the time. So it was myself and my cousin that were going to go over, and we were about the same age. He was a little bit younger than I was, and she mentioned this before we went there that night. She's like, "Listen, I have a ghost in my house." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, no, I have a ghost." I'm like, "Okay, well, what does that mean?" She's like, "Well, he turns lights on and off, walks up and down the stairs. Sometimes you can hear him in the basement, blah, 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 and, goes into this whole thing." It didn't really tell me the backstory actually until we got to the house. Now, again, I'm 9 years old, and she starts telling me about illegally performed abortions in the basement, and actually showed me the big door that, they were using to part out not only the smaller bodies, but they had bigger bodies in there too. They were doing some embalming and stuff, all illegally. That being said, she mentioned that the person that was there was the doctor who lived there, and he wasn't a bad person, or he wasn't a bad spirit, but he was interfering sometimes, especially had a likeness for her daughter, which we hear in a lot of these sort of cases. So long story short, I slept in the living room with my cousin on the floor, and we were drinking Coca-Cola that night. Now, the only reason that's relevant to even mention is that he fell asleep before I did, and I'm laying down on the sleeping bag, watching the television, and my stomach started to hurt. So, what's going on? I leaned up, and of course, I let out this gastrous burp, and I immediately felt better. But at the moment I did that, I started hearing footsteps on the stairs in the next room going up to the second floor. And I stopped for a minute. I was like, really hearing what I'm hearing? And as I started thinking this, I hear the same foots on the basement steps coming up, and I hear the big door that she showed me down in the basement on the opposite side slam close. Yeah, I was a little freaked out at this point. Again, I'm like 9 years old, and I don't really have much explanation for this, but I can feel something there, but it didn't feel bad. So that was my experience there. Now, the next morning when I mentioned it to my aunt, she had told me that very recently, because this thing had interest in her daughter, she came in her room earlier in the week. And let's say this is the edge of her daughter's bed. Let me see how to give you a better perspective here. She had this stuffed bunny that she used to sleep with. And she walked into the room, and this stuffed bunny was perched like this. Now, she saw this, knew exactly what it was, and said, "Leave her alone." And the minute she did, the bunny dropped to the floor. And it didn't really impose itself after that. It was there, but it wasn't as close to to her daughter. That was my first experience, really memorable experience in that respect with paranormal that wasn't coming to me personally. It was something that had just happened, in a place that I was at. Yeah. No. First crush.
That's creepy.
Yeah, but like Jilly had mentioned, you never forget it. Can you guys hear me? Thank you. Yeah, that's my son. Curious as all, just listening on the show. My daughter's in the other room watching through the window. You know how it goes.
Can see the reflection.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, as long as it's not in front of the screen, I'm good. It's a good thing this is the first broadcast, and we're as unprofessional as we are right now, but it's fine. We're having fun, and that's
again, the most important thing. You know what I mean? It's about having fun. We're not a big production company. Gonna let go of
Yeah.
That was fun,
Drink your cold brew. Stay up late.
Oh, I gotta stop drinking at this late, dude. I'm staying up till midnight, and then I'm waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I don't do it to you, man. As soon as it wears off, you're used to having caffeine in your body.
Oh, it's terrible. What do I do?
Go in the other room or be quiet. Thank you.
So if you're just joining us, folks, we're simulcasting with Michael Rhodes or DarkHour Paranormal.
Oh, thank you, Joey. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing more detail on your first ghost adventure. Ghost encounter, I should say. We have a lot to talk about then, yeah. I can't wait to get into it.
Did you know me? I don't know if you know me, Julie. I don't think so.
Random Rick's been around for some 44 odd years. You know what I mean? It's possible.
In life, yes.
You may have run into him
since last month. Just started. So, you might have seen one of my shows. I'm usually on this time streaming. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Oh, this is something different we're doing tonight, and again, this is great. We have 5 people in the chat, and we have people contributing, and I can't thank you guys enough for coming in. You guys all made my night just being here on my first broadcast.
That's awesome.
So here's what I'm gonna do. We're running on an hour now. I'm going to turn the topic first onto the live chat, see if anybody'd like to bring up something very quickly. We can talk about anything. We can talk about energy. We can talk about Reiki. We can talk about Tesla. We can talk about, Preston Nichols. We can talk about anybody or any concept.
Viewer's choice.
Viewer's choice. Let's chime in, throw it in. We're very versed over here. We'd love to get into it. And then from there, we'll see where it takes us.
You never know. Michael, I'm going to be taking my first break here for just a few minutes on my side of the stream.
All right, you know what? Why don't I do the same thing? We'll make it a couple minutes here. I'll probably be back before you are. But in doing that, everybody stay put, hang tight, go refresh your drink.
Yeah.
Go have a smoke.
Refresh your drink.
Grab a bite. Whatever you like.
Get your ideas for some topics to fill up the chat room, and then you'll have something to pick from. Back.
Yeah, give me a couple few. If anybody wants to talk about something in particular, we can talk about Philadelphia, we can talk about Montauk, we can talk about any of the Phoenix projects, we can talk about weather manipulation, radio songs, whatever you want to talk about, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, sorry, I didn't realize.
Until 10 o'clock tonight. How about you, Michael?
Hey, listen, I mean, we have nothing to say because Becky has just told us that, it's 2 o'clock over there in the morning. So
that's all right.
Hey, listen, they're really putting their energy up and they're doing this. And they're here with us, so again, thank you all. Appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna take 2 minutes.
Just a few minutes here, folks.
And then we're gonna get right back to it. If you guys have anything you want to throw into the chat, topic wise, please. Your shows are really fun too. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
All right. Be right back. Get rid of all this crap.
All right, folks, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Take a quick break there. So yes, again, the topic tonight is open, and we are more than receptive to whatever you'd like to throw at us. And again, can't appreciate you enough for being here. I've been doing this sort of work for a long time. I've been in radio officially for 3 years, and this was some time ago. I decided to get back into it. Being a musician, I very much enjoyed and still enjoy expressing myself through music, but there's a whole other side of me dealing with this paranormal stuff that literally cannot be ignored. I could not suppress this, even after the terrible experiences I had with the ghost hunting stuff, that I have to express this with people and tell my story. And I'm sure as shit not afraid to do it. We live in an age where people will tell you anything. And of course, you got to wade through some of that to find validity. But there are valid stories out there. One of my favorites is Phil Schneider. He was a very amazing individual. If you're not familiar with this guy, I encourage you to look him up. He was involved in creating a lot of DUMBs, deep underground military bases here in America. For many years, he was a contractor. And there was one particular incident where he was contracted to dig what is now known as the Dulce, New Mexico base. And in fact, the people over there in that area will tell you exactly where it is. They'll tell you exactly when it was built, how many people have gone in and out of that place, including alien species they've seen, going in and out as well, dead and alive. Now, his story, very quickly, was that he was drilling into the ground, again, as a contractor. Now, because there was military influence, he had a gun, just a handgun, in the event of something. I mean, he wasn't even sure, but he was armed. And these other military officials were there, and he thought that was kind of odd that they were present on this particular dig. Regardless, he went into the earth, he dug, and eventually, some meters in, they stumbled upon a cavern that, from what he described, sounded like some sort of gray or reptilian species that they startled by crushing through their cavern. He said the smell was absolutely indescribably horrible as soon as they opened this thing up, and he saw one of them and instinctively fired on it. Now, in doing that, the being also fired on him, and a gunfight ensued between the diggers and the alien species that was at the base. and he ended up losing a set of fingers. He has a hole in it. He had a hole in his chest that, he's walking around talking and proving that this is what he went through as an experience. And Phil Schneider did a lot of different talks to people. He did a lot of different symposiums, and yeah, he's a little dry when you listen to him, but that's because he's not a natural public speaker, and this is just a random guy who had this experience and he's out there sharing it. He also walked around with alien artifacts. He had material from ships and different elemental stones and stuff like that he would show people that didn't come from this place, didn't come from this planet. And this sort of backed up his story. Now, one of the most credible things I think about Phil Schneider was that he would always talk about people trying to kill him. I mean, this is movie, plot stuff right here. I mean, people coming to try and kill you because you know something or you're out there talking. Now, we see it a lot. It happens a lot. But we don't really talk in depth about it. Then maybe that's because of the fear of what might happen to us. I don't know. But this guy wasn't afraid to tell you, listen, if you find me dead, it wasn't suicide. And at the point of his last lecture, I'm going to say it was 95 or 96. Okay, it might have been 94, but I have to look it up again. It's in that time period. He straight up said, again, if you find me, it's not suicide. And there have been 13 unsuccessful attempts on my life. And he would describe people trying to shoot him, people trying to run him off the road, people accosting him, in public. And for whatever reason, he was able to avert that every time. The interesting thing was, I think it was several months later, he was found dead. He was strangled by a wire. How cliche, right? Strangled by a wire. And they ruled it a suicide. Nobody believes it. None of his family, none of his friends, none of the people that knew him. Nobody believes it was a suicide. Somebody's going to great lengths to keep this stuff secret. Now, how long can you really keep a secret? As people go and get more intelligent, more inquisitive, how long can you keep this under wraps? Absolutely ridiculous to me. And there will be a handful of us who die researching this stuff. It's just inherent in what we do. There's a risk. It's the way it goes. But you want to live in darkness, you want to live in light. You want to live in the truth, or you want to live in lies. If you know something, you got to talk about it. That's why I'm not afraid, to do what I do and to really get into this stuff. So I'll be honest with you, I'm more, petrified of something paranormal wreaking havoc on my life than some guy showing up at my door trying to kill me. Physically, that's just me. Truth will always find a way out. And that's kind of where I'm going, Jilly, as you mentioned. That's kind of where I'm going. Eventually, people are going to know. And same thing with the Bigfoot phenomenon. People are eventually going to figure it out. So what does that change when they do? What would happen today, Rick, if aliens just dropped down on the surface of the planet? We're like, hey, we're here. I mean, we wanted to grab a bite to eat. All the restaurants are closed, but I mean, we're here, guys. Any snacks? How would that change things? I'll tell you what. For one, the Vatican is already very surreptitiously and sort of secretly acknowledged that there's a good possibility that aliens are out there, and that if they do come into our consciousness, not much will change with the religion. That's really what the Pope's stance is on this. Not much will change. Well, the only way it's not going to change is if you're changing doctrines and belief systems based within that. I mean, there's the adaptation. I don't know. What do you think? What would happen tomorrow if these guys, what would happen? Do you think you'd be going to work tomorrow? In a sense. Listen, spirit never scared me either until I realized what the wrong one could do. Of course, based on my actions and my desires to call it in, but they can do a lot of damage and be very, very tough to get rid of, if you want to put it that way. Yes, we need a panel, and I need to look up what the hell that is because, again, I'm not familiar. And if we have something going on together, I'd be more than happy to be a part of it. That's a very wrong one. Trust me. Oh, what does that mean? Jilly has a very wrong one, trust me. Oh, I don't know if that's tongue in cheek or if that's literal.
Hello.
Hey, well, anyway, I'm just curious, how the advent of alien life in our everyday culture would change us. Now, before we go further into that, I'm going to say that from all different sources that I have come across, and it is absolutely my belief as well, it just makes sense, that aliens are not going to show themselves at face value to us as a species until we get our shit together. As soon as we're done killing each other, we drop some of that hate, animosity for each other, and we start becoming more harmonious. Yes, this goes in, it links into the vibration of consciousness and stuff like that, where we're going the 1111, fourth dimensional aspects of the earth, and how we're being pulled up into that. I don't blame these guys for not coming in. I'll be honest with you. If I was out there in the ethers and I was looking down on this planet, I'm like, oh, look at all these guys. They wonder if we're even here. Maybe we should go in and talk to them. Oh, is that a nuclear warhead? Where's he pointing that? Okay, well, let's talk about this a little bit. Grab a beer or something. We're going to talk about it before we go down there. I don't know if this is such a good idea. That's what my thought would be, and I don't blame them for saying, hey, listen, let them get to a certain point.
Why don't we take a few and then we'll do some tests and then we'll see what they got there.
I said, we are tongue in cheek. I love you guys already. I really do. I think that's great. Through the limited expression of chat, I love you guys. Personality is there. Yeah, they're already here. Aliens are absolutely already here, and they've been here for a long time. And obviously, they don't have any desire to make themselves. Germany, Switzerland, to say 3 different countries, I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, had already acknowledged publicly that there are aliens and they're here and there's not much we can do about it. And if they land in your backyard, just, carry on as best you can. That's really what they said. But we didn't talk about that here in mainstream press in America, obviously for many reasons, but it's already been declared by other countries that, yeah, they're here. And if they come and hang with us, there's nothing we can do. That's it. You have one across from you, huh? Well, what species is it by chance, if I might ask? What species do you have there? Because it's draconian. I want to talk to him right now. Just saying. I want to holla. Give a shout out to the reptilian species. Yeah.
Hello.
God.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it makes sense, when you look at all these things, and, there's going to be times where they don't care whether we see them or not. I think that's where you're going to get a lot of the videos and stuff like that. One of the videos you showed on your show I think it was last night, where it went underwater after it's been followed by the military official there, or the pilot. It was in the plane. It went underwater. You recall that?
Yes.
Prior to that, dude, it was zipping over highways so close to cars that there's no way that nobody else saw that.
I wasn't saying that.
There are other people out there who have that story to share, and we just aren't hearing them.
It was several minutes flying around.
Oh man. And that was military release. That was government released, and that was why it seemed so significant. Because you've seen videos like this before. They've leaked. There have been, the common man taking videos like this, but these are released by the government. And as I've seen other people express, nobody's really talking about it. And the reason, I think, is obviously because we got so much more in front of us right now with this COVID. That's really taking up a lot of our consciousness at the moment. Now, there are a few who are still able to tuck some of this stuff in that's coming out. But what more perfect time to release this at a time where people are distracted and say, oh, we put it out there. We did it. You guys just weren't paying attention. And we can't yell. Awesome. I'll get you on there as well. And I'll be advertising my shows, on Facebook when we're going live. Let you guys know a little bit ahead of time as time goes on. Again, this is awesome for the first time I've done this on this platform. The response is already very cool, and I do appreciate it, guys. Oh God, lag! Oh no, lag! Sorry. We're working on that too, as best we can with what we have. So that being said, we're about hour and 20 minutes in. I want to run another 10 minutes or so, and maybe cover one more topic. Rick, give me something. Throw something at me. Something you've been researching, something you're curious about, interested in.
I just had that aerial one from earlier, the aerial school UFO landing. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been looking up from that I mentioned earlier. So,
okay.
Yeah. I don't want to repeat it.
No, you don't have to. It's already there, and I think most of the people that are with us now might have heard that.
Yeah.
That's all the thing. I'm really gonna have to look up that instance because I'm just not familiar.
You know what I'm curious about is the little. I hear a lot of these stories now popping up about like little. I don't know if they're little people or little creatures, but they kind of like little people. They're in the forest. And, running around in the woods, and they'll take your stuff like at your house. And if you leave something out, like if you leave something out for them and say you want it back, they'll bring it back. I don't know, gnomes, not gnomes.
Yeah, they are. They are former gnomes. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the exact name. These have been, entities in long folklore past. People were working with this. I mean, even the tailors and Schumann, of 1800s, you can find stories about these gnomes coming in and rearranging their shops and stealing their thread and their pins and, leather and stuff like that. It's possible, man. I mean, the Pukwudgies from the Bridgewater Triangle are also supposed to be a sort of an interdimensional / physical being that has the ability to kind of pop in and out of our world. Personally, if I start talking about them in depth, I feel something around me that is unfavorable. So for me, when I first started getting into that and really researching and starting to feel that, yeah, I believe there's something there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're, what they physically look like, but there's definitely something there. You just did a course on that? What, Pukwudgies or the gnomes, if I may ask, Becky? Yeah, it was the Pukwudgies that I had. That. And I think you might have remembered, when I started talking about it, I was living over in North Graf. No, where was it? North. Good. All right, somewhere over there in Massachusetts.
All this stuff is new to me, you know what I mean?
Well, we touched upon a lot of things. We just, breeze. I mean, the subjects are so vast. It's hard to capture everything.
There's so many.
There's so many.
I'm learning about a new one every day, and it's like, oh.
That's the beautiful thing about this.
I know.
You always have something to do with show.
Great. Oh, yeah.
Pixies, okay. Well, I'd like to watch that. If you have a broadcast.
I've been doing this for like 20 years, dude, following like Art Bell and all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Art Bell in 1988.
Yeah, and now with the internet, it's like something new's popping up every day. You got a video, you got stories, pictures.
Everything, yeah, no, it's just you're inundated with this.
It's too much, and a lot of it, you're like, oh, you don't know what to believe or what not to believe.
Well, that's the cool thing there, where you can take, one isolated case and just kind of focus on that, take as much out of it as you can, give your opinion, express it, and go further as soon as new information comes out about it, because eventually that does happen. Eventually somebody finds something, and then the legend just continues. Ireland is full of stuff like that. I think both of you just did a show on the mounds out in that area. I can't tell you exactly where it was, but they're supposedly created by the pixies or the gnomes in the area, and are very, very spiritually active. You're around long enough. I figure, your consciousness as a species, evolves. You go into other works of energy and vibration. It just seems like the natural course of what comes next in terms of species evolution. I think that we're going into a telepathic forum as we grow as a species. It's collective, and I don't think that even in my lifetime we're going to see the majority of that anchored, but you're going to see little things here and there that point to that direction, which is, again, to me, just a natural course. Now you look at some of these alien beings and people's interactions with them. They say, oh well, they didn't open their mouth and talk to me. They talked to me through thoughts, and they were in my mind and I could hear a voice. I think they got past the need for verbal expression. All you're doing is moving air molecules when you're talking anyway, and you have expression and emotion and feeling behind your words and your voice and your vibration, but thoughts are so much more powerful. If you're able to link with somebody like that and just convey an emotion, it speaks volumes without saying a word. I think that's where we're going if we allow ourselves to.
Yeah, well, then what are you going to do about music, poetry?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, it's in one way, if something evolves, something else is going to evolve too. Maybe it becomes more internal. Maybe it becomes, for example, all right, so music itself is the expression of ideas. That's what music is. I have the thought in my head, or I have the inclination to play a melody. I'm literally playing and expressing in a physical vibrational sense the music that's within me. Right? What if I didn't have to use that keyboard or that guitar to physically express it? What if I could just make the song in my head and then in some telepathic way allow you to hear it?
Yeah.
It's going to draw people closer to each other. You know what I mean? Elemental fairies, elementary spirits. I mean, you guys are so old as a country. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, you have the Ram's Inn, I think is what it is, on the ley line that connects with Stonehenge too. And you find a lot of different establishments that are old like that. You guys have a mecca of paranormal activity over there, and I'm kind of envious because we got plenty over here. We got plenty to work with, but a lot of it's really angry because we've had a lot of tumult on this soil, and I'm not saying that England hasn't. It has, but it's had time to heal from that. Whereas here, we still got history angry. You talk about slavery, you talk about Native Americans, and people are still angry about that today. And that's still here. You'll find that in some of the older countries, I think, that you go to. I've heard of that village before. I don't know much about it as the whole village, but I've heard it. I definitely will check it out. But listen, guys, I just want to wrap this up now. Just to look at it. It's been an hour and a half since we've gone on, and we've kind of covered a couple different things. The next show that I do will be a little bit more organized. Yeah, boo. We'll be a little bit more organized in terms of what we're doing as my normal radio show is. But thank you for tuning in and sticking with us. Random Rick, I do appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for being a guest, even though I think it started the other way around. It's always a pleasure. And
well, it's a simulcast, so we're doing both at the same time.
Sure. No, we definitely are. But you've definitely been here contributing on this cast, so I do appreciate that. Thank you very much for coming.
Oh, anytime. Always a pleasure. Thanks for simulcasting.
Yeah.
Glad to be part of your first broadcast as well. It's great.
Awesome. I mean, it's history for us, and we look back in 10 years when we're doing this on a larger scale as we're moving. It's going to be fun to look back to. Okay, I'm going to come and find you guys on Facebook. If you've already requested a friend request with me, that's going to help me find you easier. Please do. I'll add you immediately, and we're going to go from there. And Becky and Jilly, we're going to definitely have some good times together, apparently from a distance, seeing as you're in England, but we're going to definitely connect here. And I do appreciate you once again coming in and joining us tonight. So thank you. I'm going to cut this out now. And I hope everybody does have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm going to try to be back here tomorrow night. If not tomorrow night, most definitely the following evening on Thursday, just so I can get a little time to kind of set this up in a better way, because I think people are really enjoying this so far. So thank you very much, guys. I will see you soon. Random
very
Rick.
Nice. I'd say very nice to meet you, Julie and Becky, because I didn't really get to type in the chat as much. So.
Right,
I wanted to say
as well
in person. But have a good night, everybody. And thanks for having me on. I'm still going to be on my broadcast here from you. So. if you want to hop on over or whatever, feel free.
Cheerio. Right? Yeah,
Cheers.
Yes.
Thanks, Michael Rosa from DarkHour Paranormal. Go check him out. His link is in the description below, folks. And we will see him later.
Nice to meet you both as well. Folks, have a
Bye-bye.
wonderful rest of your night.
All right.